Hi, I'm James Foley. This is my new book, Stellarphant, and in the back of the book is a true history of animals in space. And I've just had a question come through from Jeff. Jeff says, James, have you ever made any mistakes in your books? Jeff, yes, I have. There's always at least one mistake. Sometimes it's not my fault, sometimes it is, and we always try and fix it in a second edition. This particular edition here is actually the American edition, which is exactly the same as the second Australian edition, so there aren't any mistakes in this one that we know of. But if you look at an Australian first edition, if you're lucky enough to get one of those, there are a few little mistakes in there. There were a few things where animals sort of got shifted and rearranged around because we discovered later on that there were some earlier missions that they'd been on. So I think bacteria got moved from the 1960s to 1959, things like that. But there's one animal in the first Australian edition that was cut out entirely and doesn't appear here. That animal is the grasshopper, an insect. If you look online, there's a few little statements that say that grasshoppers went into space. And these references are from NASA. They're from NASA reports, there's from a NASA webpage. But when you actually go to these original reports, it calls it the Indian grasshopper, and it gives the scientific name, Carassius morosus. And this is not a grasshopper. It's the Indian stick insect, or the common stick insect. And even then, it wasn't even an adult stick insect, it was just the eggs. For some reason, some of these NASA reports, as early as the biostack experiments on Apollo 17, call this particular animal the Indian grasshopper, which makes the history books a little bit confusing. And unfortunately, when the first edition had come out, I hadn't quite found those little bits of information yet. So on the second edition, we cut out grasshoppers. As far as I know, they've never been to space. Crickets have been to space though, but it's not the same as a grasshopper. And so you'll find no grasshoppers in the second edition of the True History of Animals in Space. If you've got any other questions to do with Stellarphant or the True History of Animals in Space, let us know in the comments.